Good morning and welcome to Conversations. I'm Andre Whitehead. Today I want to tell you a story and take you to Portsmouth, Virginia, as we discuss a situation with their city council member, Dr. Mark Whitaker. Dr. Whitaker was sentenced to a $7,500 fine for a forgery and fraud case. He was facing 20 indictments, but only was convicted of 3 of them, and he has filed an appeal denying all of the charges. Today he is a convicted felon who has applied to have his rights restored. Before he was charged, his name was still on the ballot for re-election, and he is currently campaigning for that re-election in hopes of a special runoff by January when his rights will be restored. Today we tell his story. Well, Dr. Whitaker, I want to thank you for joining us for this edition of Conversations, our business, health, and community news show, and I'm excited to have this opportunity to speak with you today. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thank you for inviting me on the show.
My pleasure. I do have a disclaimer. Let me say that when I was a younger man, I, along with my friends Sam Jones and Steve Barnes, would travel through Cavalier Manor, Prentice Park, Otter Barber, Jeffrey Wilson, when there was a Jeffrey Wilson, and play ball in some of the roughest parts of town because we felt as though that was where some of the best competition was. And I recall coming to Cavalier Manor with Sam Jones, playing in the back of Waters School. And lo and behold, here comes Mark Whitaker and Phil, these skinny giants.
That's right.
And we played ball, and if I recall correctly, we took a bit of a beating. So we got hot and started to get physical and rough and try to beat up these skinny guys. And I remember you saying, man, we're just here to play basketball. We didn't come out here for all this. And, of course, we lost the game. But over the years, it's been interesting to see your rise. And I tell people that story, how you were just non-confrontational, you just wanted to play, and we were trying to cheat to win, but you kept your cool. As remembering that story in my journalism work, though I've always respected the Whitakers and your father and the incredible New Bethel Baptist Church, as a journalist, I'm here to ask you some difficult questions. So once again, I want to thank you for this opportunity.
I appreciate it. And those days on the court taught us all some valuable lessons.
True. You know, the funny thing about that, Dr. Whitaker, I was also talking to some young people. I get a chance to speak every now and then. And we were just talking about how, you know, we never thought of hurting each other and shooting each other and violence against each other. If we had a tussle, we'd play together the next day.
And I mean, one thing about what you're saying, the experiences on the court, as you know, playing around the city, you got to meet persons of all type of personalities from all walks of life, and the court was a common denominator where even today, guys that some may look down upon because of their socioeconomic status, I know these guys because of playing basketball around the city, and we have respect for each other because of the camaraderie we developed on the basketball court. So, you know, they used to call us the Whitaker brothers. And that sort of thing.
Or the Whitaker boys.
Yeah. But those were some fun days and some cherished relationships.
Your case has granted so much attention locally, regionally, even on the national level, because we do a national radio show. And it's been amazing the number of people who've called and had questions and who are following this case. So we want to talk about your case, if you will, your moves forward. But before we get there, we always like to start with a little bit of bio. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your education, and your family.
Actually, my family is originally from the Scotland Neck area of North Carolina. How my father's family actually arrived here in Portsmouth was actually out of protest because they're on Frank Shields' farm there in North Carolina. The plantation owner or the landowner at that time requested of my grandfather's brother to call his young son sir. And he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't call him sir. And he said, if you don't, I'm going to beat you. And my grandfather's brother said, if he touches him, I'm going to beat him today. And when he went to beat my grandfather's brother, the other brother beat the plantation master there.
Wow.
And so they ended up hiding him in a mattress. Back then they had, I believe, the chicken feathers. And so they had the dogs looking for him. They were going to kill him. The old folks hid him in the mattress until night. Then at nighttime, they ended up catching a train. The train stopped here in Pennis Point, section of Portsmouth. And that's how my grandfather ended up leaving from sharecropping in North Carolina to come here following his brother and started in Pennis Point. Then he relocated to Lambert's Point, section of Norfolk, worked for the railroads. And even in that, there was a struggle. My grandfather was required or asked to train the white engineers when they were transferring, I believe, from a steam to diesel type engine. And they wanted my grandfather to train them. My grandfather said he would not do it unless they paid him the salary of an instructor. And he took them to court, brought in the labor union, and they had to pay him. And he received threats from both some of the black workers and the white workers. But he never gave in. And I was just 3 years old when my grandfather died. His name is Junius Whitaker. And my memory of him is that he always had on a tie, and he had a tie clip. So when you see me with my tie clip on, it's recognizing the spirit of my grandfather. So any passion that you see in me for speaking is because I haven't forgotten where I've come from, and I haven't forgotten the injustices. And I believe with that, it's incumbent upon me to do the best. And so therefore, our parents instilled in us education, and so I went on to Manor High School, went all through Portsmouth Public Schools, Lakeview, Hodges Manor, Waters, even Mount Herman Elementary School. Manor High School, as you know, played basketball there. I love basketball. My father told my brother and I some things we needed to do if we wanted to get to the next level. That was academics and athletics, training. And so we did that, and I ended up, both of us were fortunate, blessed to get athletic scholarships. My brother went to Seton Hall, and myself to Virginia Tech. Very successful team. Dale Curry, Steph Curry's father, your teammates there, great guy. And went on to Virginia Tech, graduated. From there, went on to Penn State, full scholarship. They had affirmative action funds for minority students. I received one. They paid for everything. Went on to Ohio State for my law degree after I got my MBA from Penn State. And when I was at Virginia Tech, I was president of the Black Student Alliance, spoke out against the racial issues there at Virginia Tech. I was told that Virginia Tech alumni would blacklist me from getting a job because of how I was speaking out. An administrator told me that. When I finished law school at Ohio State, the first job offer I got was from Virginia Tech to come back there and teach business law. And so I did that, and it was a blessing because my wife, that's where I met her when I went back, because she was there finishing up her PhD at the University of Michigan, and Virginia Tech was trying to recruit more black faculty. And so she was there that summer teaching, and based on her teaching performance, they would keep her on, in which they did. And at the same time, Old Dominion University was paying for her to finish up her doctorate, and she ended up at ODU, and we ended up coming back here to Portsmouth.
Wow.
And I had a calling to preach, and came back here through Hampton University, hired me to teach, and working here at New Bethel Baptist Church, where my father has been pastor for 54 years, preaching a social justice gospel. And I'm just sitting at his feet. We have 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls. Our son is at Georgetown University finishing up his master's degree, and our daughter, Naomi, is at East Carolina University on a track scholarship, finishing up. She'll be finishing up early because of Portsmouth Public Schools' outstanding program, the first college program, she was able to accumulate credits. And our two younger ones, one at Norcom, one at Jefferson Middle School. And so my family is very important to me, and it's what I place as a priority. And I've been blessed to still have both my parents. My father's 87, my mother's 81. My parents are still here with me. My brother, Phil, and his family, and my sister, Etta, and my sister Caroline is in Maryland. She's a pediatric dentist up in Maryland. And so I'm blessed to have family, cousins, and all still around me. And my church family, New Bethel Baptist Church, I can't say enough of how much they have supported me and our family over the years, the love, the things that have happened. They've never abandoned us. And that's something to really feel as a blessing.
You know, you told the story of how you met your wife, and she's such a beautiful woman. I always wondered, how in the world did Mark get her?
But the Lord moved in a mysterious way.
And those kids of yours, just long legs and arms everywhere. Further giants in the land.
Yeah. My wife's from Trinidad originally, and grew up in a single parent household. And so she understands. That's how she can relate so well on the school board for sociology background. And much of what I say on council, I don't talk that off the top of my head, but to have someone with a PhD in sociology deals with policy. We discuss those things and how you can have policy that can impact on the lives of persons. For example, Portsmouth has a very high poverty rate, crime. Those things are socioeconomic issues that you have to have policies in place that will address the economic conditions of persons if you're going to start talking about reducing crime, increasing socioeconomic status. Those are things that she has greatly informed me on through her research and learning in sociology.
Talk about your call to the ministry with so much success and so many incredible business opportunities and teaching opportunities. Did you feel like, this call to the ministry is something unique, or I've got too many irons in the fire, if you will?
Well, I, as a young boy sitting here at New Bethel Baptist Church, I think I was like any young boy at the time. You're at church, you're thinking about after church, playing sports. And,
can't wait to get out of here.
Looking at football games on television, basketball. And so, but church was always something we look forward to.
Providing quality and comprehensive health care services to nearly 18,000 patients in Central Virginia is something Johnson Health Center is very proud of. With multiple locations and services, accessing care has never been more easier or convenient. Johnson Health Center is for everyone in this community.
Gracias por elegirnos.
Salamat sa inyong pagtangkilik sa amin.
Je vous remercie parce que vous avez choisi notre clinique.
Thank you for choosing us.
Thank you for choosing Johnson Health Center.
To get a great night's sleep, you need a great mattress and a great pillow too. Now at Schul's, you get both. Buy a Spring Air back supporter or Beauty Rest mattress and get a free MyPillow. That's right, a free MyPillow. You've seen it on TV, now it can be yours. A soft, comfortable MyPillow free with any new Spring Air or Beauty Rest mattress purchase of $5.99 or more. But free doesn't mean forever, and this incredible free MyPillow offer is for a limited time only at Schul's.
Have you heard? Terry is growing again. Our pre-owned vehicle operation is popping at the seams. So we're introducing the all-new Terry Auto Outlet on Candler's Mountain Road. Double the locations means double the deal of the day cars. We even shop the competition in a 200-mile radius, so we have the most competitive prices on over 400 cars. When you're thinking about your next vehicle, choose a name you can trust like Terry, and see all of our inventory online at terryautogroup.com.
Welcome back to our special series. Dr. Mark Whitaker, councilman from Portsmouth, Virginia, speaks as he seeks re-election as a convicted felon. We are telling his story. And again, this story has made national news. Stay tuned. You mentioned going into the ministry. Talk about your call to the ministry with so much success and so many incredible business opportunities and teaching opportunities. Did you feel like, this call to the ministry is something unique, or I've got too many irons in the fire, if you will?
Well, I, as a young boy sitting here at New Bethel Baptist Church, I think I was like any young boy at the time. You're at church, you're thinking about after church playing sports and
can't wait to get out of here.
Looking at football games on television, basketball. And so, but church was always something we looked forward to because of the other young folks that were here. And so, over time, it seemed like my father's messages started really touching me at a young age. I would hear some things he was saying, and it, I would feel, within. And as I got older, went off to school and began to associate with others, the things that my father preached about and taught started to really take much significance. He always told me that life is a search for the truth. He said, that's what life is. He said, life is a search for the truth. My father masters in religious philosophy from New York University, and so he's always been a critical thinker, and that's something he's always challenged us to be critical thinkers. And so his preaching, it always, I think, it planted a seed in me. And I always saw education and theology, the academy in theology, as a natural fit. And so my accepting of the calling to preach, I think, along with the offer to teach at a university, they married each other. And when I saw that connection, I gave up pursuing. I could have worked with some major corporations as an African American male.
Made a lot of money.
With a law degree and an MBA. And I was recruited by some major organizations. But I actually worked with Bank One in their legal department in Columbus. I did a clerkship there, and also with a law firm in Columbus. I did the legal research there. But those things just didn't interest my spirit. A lot of money, but I wasn't satisfied. I have found a peace within with what I do in ministry and preaching the gospel, and particularly a social justice gospel that requires us to recognize that the cross is the cost of discipleship. And so therefore, the challenges of life, we accept them because we know that just as God did not leave Jesus when he was on the cross, he certainly will not leave me in my situation. That's the hope. And so I took that, and I continue to run with that. I sit at my father's feet. I'm the assistant pastor. He is the pastor. I sit at his feet, and I thank God for having someone such as him to work in ministry with.
What about the bug to public service? Again, it seemed like your plate was still full. Why get involved in public service?
Well, I believe to whom much is given, much is required. And the public service part came out of actually assisting Cynthia Morrison. Cynthia Morrison was running for clerk of the circuit court. This was probably back in 1998. And Steve Heretic was chair of the Democratic Party at that time. And there was a rumor out that Bill Moody was going to take the position of clerk of circuit court because folks had gotten tired of him on city council. And so Steve Heretic and the Democratic Party had to come up with a process for selecting their Democratic candidate for circuit court clerk. And so the question was, are we going to have what's called a firehouse primary where you can vote out in your precincts, or will we have an assembled caucus at IC Norcom? I met with Steve Heretic here at New Bethel Baptist Church, and I said to him that this needs to be an assembled caucus because I had gotten word that some of his Republican friends wanted it as a firehouse caucus. And so we had it here at IC Norcom. Ms. Morrison received the vote, and she is now our clerk of court, which that was back in around 98, I believe. And so from that experience, actually there were some of her team who encouraged me to run for office. And so I did. I ran for a school board and served up there for 12 years. And so we were able to do some good things while on school board. We got middle school sports implemented. That was one of the first pieces that I really pushed because I knew the importance of athletics and how it had helped me to get through school. And I see all these young folks out here, and there's no reason why we couldn't have middle school sports. You might remember that coming up, Portsmouth schools couldn't really compete as well with Chesapeake schools because they already had been playing since 6th grade, and we didn't have an organized middle school sports. And I was told that it was too much money. But when I looked at the budget they presented to us, it wasn't even, I don't think, $100,000. And so we got it put in place, and now you see as one of the best parental involvement pieces that we have. When you go to these games, the parents are there, volleyball, basketball, wrestling, and so it's an excellent program. And then the minority contracting policy we were able to get in place there while I was on the school board, pushed that through. It took me 10 years to do it, though, because of the resistance from some of the school board members who didn't want that done. But finally, after 10 years, we were able to get that policy through. And so that whole political involvement, I believe that if you're going to make a change, you got to roll up your sleeves and get involved. And I tell people, when you go into office, you have to go there with an agenda. You can't go there blind. You have to go there with some things in mind that needs to take place, and you have to go there conscious and informed. If not, others will set your agenda for you.
What did your father think about your political aspirations?
Well, you know, my father served on the school board. He was one of the ones who was appointed at that time when school boards were appointed. He was appointed to school board. My father has always been socially active, being involved in the Poor People's Campaign that came through Portsmouth back in I think that was the early 70s, and being a part of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference that Dr. King started. And so he has never seen really a separation of the church and speaking to social issues, political issues. As you know, God is not a Democrat or a Republican, but the church should speak to issues that impact people, and we have to have a presence in the political arena. And so he has always encouraged it. And before I even ran, I talked to my wife and my family about it, and they all encouraged me to do it.
Let's move to the church and the decision to develop the land next door, which a lot of people have asked me about, and what seems to have led to your court case, if you will. Right. Take me back to that idea.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's interesting. what white supremacy has done to our community, that is, when we talk about how resources are allocated, who controls resources, okay? Who can have access to resources, what white supremacy has done to us, and particularly through slavery, that it has taught us that there are certain areas that we shouldn't be involved in. It has tried to limit our horizons. And so typically, when I hear persons asking about why would the church want to develop a property that's in your community, it's interesting, I never hear them ask, why is it that the Catholic Church has done all of this development?
Tell me, what is a normal day like in the cottage? What do you guys do? Tell me, go through a whole day.
We gotta get up and we gotta do our chores, like we gotta clean the whole house before we go to school.
I have the front sitting room, and I don't like the bathrooms or the kitchen because it's nasty.
First thing, when we get off the bus, she'll tell us to put our book bags down. We'll get a snack, come back outside, ride bikes, toss football, play with the other cottages.
We like to play baseball and football, and we sometimes like climb the trees and dodgeball.
We'll come in, do study hall, and then we'll have 2 people help make dinner while everybody else is doing Xbox or computer and Wii. And after that, the people who help with dinner get on Xbox, computer, and Wii. And around 8-ish, we'll do showers. And then around 9, the little boys go to bed, and the rest of us can stay up till 10.
I like how the rooms are upstairs because the teenagers are with the teen, and then the little boys are with the little boys. And I like my roommates are Charlie and Malcolm, and they're like my best friends, and we have a good time.
One thing I do not like about them, they are a little bit too messy.
Character development is like teaching us about character, like peace, justice, respect, and things like that. It teaches us like people who did justice.
What do you think of Patrick Henry? What type of place is it?
I think it's good for kids to go. It's fun here. We do a lot of stuff.
You have like chores that you need to do around the house, and you need to do your own laundry, and it's kind of more fun because you go more places.
I learned how to start talking and stuff, because when I first came here, I was really shy. And my grades got better. Yeah, and it changed my life around.
Hello and welcome back to Conversations as we present Portsmouth Councilman Dr. Mark Whitaker Speaks as we tell his story as he seeks re-election as a convicted felon. We're telling this story that made national attention. Stay tuned. Let's move to the church and the decision to develop the land next door, which a lot of people have asked me about and what seems to have led to your court case, if you will. Right. Take me back to that idea.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's interesting what white supremacy has done to our community. That is, when we talk about how resources are allocated, who controls resources, okay? Who can have access to resources. What white supremacy has done to us, and particularly through slavery, that it has taught us that there are certain areas that we shouldn't be involved in. It has tried to limit our horizons. And so typically, when I hear persons asking about why would the church want to develop a property that's in your community, it's interesting, I never hear them ask, why is it that the Catholic Church has done all of this development? Why is it that Jerry Falwell and Liberty University in Lynchburg, they own just about the whole city? I haven't heard any folks question that. I haven't heard anyone question, why is it that Pat Robertson can develop property? I haven't heard black folks question. Matter of fact, our black organizations go to these places for their conferences. But I can tell you this, the minute that our church decided to purchase Bonnevilla, which, remind you now, was a dilapidated property where you had drugs going on, you had prostitution occurring over there, and you had gang presence. What we said to our congregation is that, look, this is Greenwood Drive. Cavalier Manor has names that have African American historical significance. I said, here we are on Greenwood Drive. Greenwood, the community that's in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was at its time called the Black Wall Street of its day. Here we are on Greenwood Drive in Cavalier Manor. What do we own? It's a disgrace to our heritage that we're on Greenwood Drive and we don't control it. And so when the opportunity came up to purchase Bonnevilla, we did it as a means of controlling our neighborhood. And we were able to get the proper financing for it, to purchase it, just like any other organization would do. And what some do not realize is that when we purchased Bonnevilla, it was in its dilapidated condition, because you remember where TCC is now, okay? You remember those homes were torn down that were there because they were in a dilapidated condition. The city moved those residents, some of them, to Bonnevilla without inspecting the units. And so the city perpetuated some of that dilapidated condition in Bonnevilla by not following through with the owner on making sure those properties were up to code. When the church purchased those properties, we were told that by one of the city officials that they had never had so many calls about the conditions of Bonnevilla until New Bethel purchased it. And that was coming from community people here. When it was owned by, there was an Asian American that we purchased it from. When he owned it and the conditions it was in, there was not an outcry. But as soon as we purchased it, there was. And so I understand the mentality. And so we moved forward with looking to put a quality development over there. Something on the level of what you see called the Myrtles that is at the entrance of the Naval Hospital. That's the quality of apartments. We didn't want to load it up with a lot of apartments. We had beautiful green space left because we wanted to preserve the beauty of the community. At that time, around 2008, that's when the recession hit. And what people don't realize is that there were a whole lot of developers who were hit hard during the recession because finances dried up.
And went out of business.
Yeah, and they did. They went under, okay? We faced the same challenge. But we maintained the property. We still own the property today. It's just in receivership. And there's a developer that's interested and is, I believe, has the city in court today over it. So the way that people have labeled this as being a failure, and oh no, it's nowhere near being a failure, because anytime you have a property where you have a developer that is willing to now still develop it, we're still in line with doing that. But that's not the story that's being put out. The story is being put out that the church is facing foreclosure, which is a lie, and that this project has failed, which is a lie. But it's all to try to taint my name, the church name, our family's name, because of how we have stood on economic issues that are impacting our community and how we have always spoken to social justice. Our people need to recognize that these labels that are being put out here are old tricks to try to separate the community. But when we see people out here rolling up their sleeves, caring about our communities, trying to take control of our communities and its economic destiny, that's who we need to rally behind. And that's what we have done.
Coming up, when you first heard of the investigation, where were you? What did you think? What was the mindset of Dr. Mark Whitaker at that time?
Well, when I first ran for office in 2002, I told the trustees here at the church, and I told the leadership here at the church, I said, they're going to come and attack me and this church because of issues that I will be raising.
Bedford Community Health Center, a division of Johnson Health Center, has renovated and expanded their office next to Peebles in the town of Bedford. Services include pediatric and adult primary care, mental health, OBGYN, and dental. Open Monday through Thursday, 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. All insurances are accepted and a reduced fee is offered to uninsured. New patients are welcome.
We the people. We are innovators, dreamers, leaders. Yeah, we feel pain. We get tired, but it won't stop us. God's call is our pursuit, and we will champion His name.
Welcome home. Time goes by, that's for sure, that no one can deny. And we've been apart, so welcome home. Here I am. I was lost, but I'm found, and I turn around. So you're welcome home. Welcome home.
Along with my colleagues, we take care of women who are pregnant, get them through their pregnancy and deliveries, and then also provide gynecologic care. Of course, delivering babies is very rewarding, and to see a happy couple after the delivery of a child is certainly very rewarding. I've actually been practicing since 1986 as an obstetrician gynecologist. I find working at Johnson Health Center very rewarding. I have very good staff. We're growing, and that's, I think, one of the most encouraging things is that we're a growing practice. And I enjoy the relationships I develop with patients. That's been very special to me through the years. I do see these children come back, since we're right next door to the pediatric facility, to see the mother and oftentimes the children that I've delivered. It is very special.
Welcome home. Time goes by, that's for sure, that no one can deny. And we've been apart, so welcome home. Here I am. I was lost, but I'm found, and I turn around. So you're welcome home. Welcome home.
Meet the redesigned 2019 Volkswagen Jetta. How redesigned? It's practically reinvented. Stylish exterior design with more body lines and creases. It's sportier and sleeker. An interior with comfort and style. That commute isn't so bad now, is in a standard turbocharged engine that runs on regular gasoline. Plus, most Volkswagen models come with the People First warranty. 6 years, 72,000 miles, bumper to bumper coverage. Lease the all new 2019 Jetta for $189 a month. Terry Volkswagen, you'll love our cars.
Welcome back to Dr. Mark Whitaker Speaks, Portsmouth City Councilman, as he seeks re-election as a convicted felon who hopes to have his rights restored soon and a runoff election in January. Stay tuned. Well, Dr. Whitaker, on that basis, that's kind of the crust of the matter in terms of what we do. We want to hear from you, you know, and we don't use your comments and pull out sound bites and make it say whatever agenda may be out there. We wanted to hear from you, so I want to thank you once again for this time. When you first heard of the investigation, where were you? What did you think? What was the mindset of Dr. Mark Whitaker at that time?
Well, when I first ran for office in 2002, I told the trustees here at the church, and I told the leadership here at the church, I said, they're going to come and attack me and this church because of issues that I will be raising. I said, because when I get in office, I'm going to be raising socioeconomic issues. I'm not going up there to smile, to grin, to scratch and itch. I'm going up there to address the socioeconomic issues of our community, to redistribute the wealth. When the investigation was announced and I found out that I had been indicted, well, let me say, I knew a little bit beforehand that it was going on because Captain Lee Cherry, who would come before City Council, made a statement about these black churches that are buying up property and developments going over. He was telling us we need to stay in our place, and he said, and have these federal credit unions that go under and don't pay back their members' shares and loans. He made derogatory comments. I knew then he was speaking about our church. And then I knew something was going on because at the last December meeting, after Mayor Rowe was elected and was to take office, there was I believe a closed session that we had, and there was some heated conversation in the closed session, particularly with Bill Moody. As the session came out of closed session and we were leaving to go back to the dais, Bill Moody made a comment to me. He said, I wouldn't be surprised if you're in jail by January. That's what he told me. Okay? He said, I wouldn't be surprised if you're in jail by January. So I knew something was going on. I knew that there were those within council, City Hall, who were participating in it. And so when the indictments came, I was actually preaching a funeral for one of our very devoted members, Sister Lucille Saunders. And I found out about it on my way home from the cemetery, that I had been indicted by this special grand jury. The whole process of the special grand jury and the lies and misinformation that was given to the special grand jury by the sheriff officers and their investigator, Brett Johnson, to get me indicted, that's a whole nother story in and of itself, what they did to get me indicted. And so when it happened, I wasn't surprised that the attack came, because just as they tried to get Mayor Wright on felony eluding charges, I knew that they would use the criminal process against me to try to silence my voice as well, because we were speaking to economic issues. minority contracting. We were speaking to why is it that we have city offices located in privately owned buildings paying more than market rate rent? Why is this occurring? And so we had those offices move from those private buildings back into city properties, saving taxpayers money. Okay? Well, that meant someone was profiting from that. And so we tapped into the good old boy economic system that we all know exists here in Portsmouth. And we weren't afraid to do it because I know that God takes care of me. No one's hand is in my pocket. God will take care of me. And so I did not feel I had an allegiance to these power structures. And so we were dealing with economic issues. This whole minority contracting piece. We weren't asking for the whole pie. We were saying, we deserve more than just 1% of the pie. We're the majority population in the city out of fairness, and even if we were not, just out of fairness. And I think everyone wants to be treated fair. That's all we were asking, be fair. But because of greed and because of a desire to get more and to keep people in certain conditions and positions while others prosper, they sought to attack me because they knew the issues I was speaking to were true. Because the data all shows everything that we were speaking to: minority participation, funding our schools, okay, diversifying our police force. The whole community policing initiative, that's under the Obama administration. That was a national issue. We were just tapping into that. Diversify the police and fire department. I think that's fair. Why is it that our people can't serve in those positions? Why we have to be less than 10%? You see, those are legitimate, fair questions. And it's interesting, I'm labeled as a racist for addressing racism. You see, and so with that, I knew the attacks would come. And so, as I said before, you have to be willing to sacrifice. You see, you have to know when you're speaking truth to power, you have to be willing to recognize there's a cross you're going to have to bear. But I keep telling you, the good news that we proclaim is that if God didn't forget Jesus, I know he will not forget me. And so that's why we keep pressing on, and that's why I will not grow weary in well-doing, and I'll continue to speak. And so this whole process has actually deepened my faith, because all that they have tried to do to me, I'm still standing. And our family is still standing. And I'm still in my right mind. I come from a people that survived the Middle Passage, you see. So my ancestors have gone through much worse than what I am. And so I want to keep pressing on, because I know truth crushed to the earth. Truth crushed to the earth shall always rise. And I'm standing on the truth.
Well, that has been part one of our special series, Dr. Mark Whitaker Speaks, concerning the Portsmouth City Councilman who has been indicted on 3 charges, 3 out of 20 charges for fraud and forgery. He has denied all of those charges, filed an appeal, and is still seeking re-election in hopes that the community will come out and vote for him, and he's filed for his rights to be restored. If he wins enough votes, there will have to be a runoff election in January for his seat. And this is a case that we've never heard of before, and this case has made statewide and even national attention. So we're bringing it to you today. Be sure to come back next weekend as we continue our story of Dr. Mark Whitaker from Portsmouth, Virginia, Speaks. Our phone lines are open if you have any questions or if we can assist you in any way.